The hamburger made her cry. Valentina's shoulders heaved, grease glistening on her chin, tears carving dirt tracks down her face, sobs convulsing the whole mess hall into stunned silence. Dr. Pepper. Coca-Cola. Ice cold. Fizzing. She had spent 2 years pressed palm flat to splintered barracks wood, listening to boots on gravel, picturing a bullet to the back of the head. American nurses with syringes, Mussolini posters screaming devil soldiers. Now she was gulping a cheeseburger and hiccuping between sobs. Wait, why were 23 Italian POWs collapsing at the sight of hamburgers and Dr. Pepper instead of bullets? The wood splinters dig into Bianca's palms as she presses them flat against the barracks wall. 23 women stand in a ragged line, arms raised, sweat soaking through their Italian military fatigues. The Arizona sun hammers down on the back of her neck. She's 19 years old, and she's going to die in the desert. She keeps her eyes shut. Someone, 3 women down, is praying in rapid Sicilian. Another is breathing in short, sharp gasps like a trapped animal. Bianca tries to remember her mother's face but can only see the propaganda posters from Bologna. American soldiers with devil horns. American nurses with syringes full of poison. 2 years. 2 years they'd been told what Americans do to female prisoners. The sound of boots on gravel gets closer. Bianca's legs shake. She presses harder against the wood, feeling a splinter pierce her thumb. The pain is almost welcome. Something real. Something that isn't the nightmares. Then she hears it. Not gunfire. Glass clinking against glass. She opens one eye. An American woman in an army nurse's uniform is walking down the line, carrying a wooden crate. The bottles inside are dark brown, sweating condensation in the heat. The nurse, her name tag reads Wolford, stops in front of Bianca and holds out a bottle. "It's hot," Captain Wolford says in careful, slow English. "You must be thirsty." Bianca stares at the bottle, at the label with the strange English words. Dr. Pepper. The glass is so cold it hurts to look at. This is the poison. This is how it happens. "Take it, honey," Captain Wolford says, gentler now. She's smiling. Actually smiling. Bianca's hand moves without permission. Her fingers close around the freezing glass and she almost drops it. Cold. When did she last touch something this cold? The sensation shoots up her arm like electricity. Down the line, another woman takes a bottle. Then another. The Sicilian woman who was praying is now holding one, turning it over in her hands like it might explode. Bianca looks at Captain Wolford. The American nurse nods encouragement. She brings the bottle to her cracked lips. The metal cap is already off. She tilts it back and takes one small sip. The liquid hits her tongue and her entire body revolts. Sweet. Impossibly sweet. And carbonated. Bubbles attacking the inside of her mouth, fizzing up into her sinuses, the taste like cherries mixed with something medicinal and vanilla and sugar, so much sugar her teeth ache. Her stomach clenches. She gags, turns her head, and vomits onto the dirt. The bottle slips from her fingers. "Oh, sweetheart." Captain Wolford reaches for her, but Bianca's vision is already tunneling, the edges going soft and dark. The last thing she hears before her knees buckle is someone screaming in Italian. Then nothing. She wakes up on a cot. White ceiling, the smell of antiseptic, a fan turning lazy circles overhead. A man in a white coat, the camp doctor, is leaning over one of the other women, checking her pulse. There are bodies on cots all around. 6 of them, all Italian, all breathing. "Hyperventilation," the doctor is saying to someone Bianca can't see. "Shock response. I thought it was poison at first, but they thought we were going to kill them." Captain Wolford's voice cuts in. Quiet. Horrified. They were waiting for execution. The doctor doesn't respond for a long moment. Jesus Christ. Bianca turns her head slowly. On the cot next to her, a woman named Sophia is awake, staring at the ceiling with wet eyes. She's still clutching an empty Dr. Pepper bottle against her chest like a child's toy. "We're alive," Sophia whispers in Italian. "Bianca. We're alive." The words don't make sense. Bianca's brain keeps trying to solve the equation and failing. The wall, the bottles, the poison that tasted like a carnival, the American nurse who smiled. Her body starts shaking. Not from fear this time. Something worse. Something that feels like her entire skeleton is coming apart. Sophia reaches across the gap between cots and grabs Bianca's hand. They lie there like that. Two enemy soldiers holding hands in an American military hospital, breathing too fast, unable to stop trembling. Through the window, Bianca can see the other women from the line. They're sitting in the shade of the barracks now, still holding their bottles. Sergeant Valentina Caruso, the hardcore fascist, the one who still wears her Mussolini pin every single day, is taking tiny, suspicious sips from her Dr. Pepper, testing it, waiting for the poison to kick in. She takes another sip, then another. Then she drinks half the bottle in one long pull and sits there, stunned, staring at nothing. Captain Wolford appears in Bianca's line of sight holding a clipboard. "How are you feeling?" Bianca doesn't have the English words. She doesn't even have the Italian ones. How do you explain that your body just realized it's going to live? That every cell that was prepared for bullets is now flooding with chemicals it doesn't recognize? "Confused," she finally manages in broken English. The word feels too small. I bet. Captain Wolford pulls up a chair, sits down like she has all day, like Bianca isn't a prisoner, like this is normal. "What did they tell you? About American camps?" Bianca's mouth is dry. "They say, you torture. You kill women soldiers. Make examples." Captain Wolford's face does something complicated. She looks down at her clipboard, then back up. When she speaks, her voice is careful. "We don't do that here. You'll work, you'll eat, you'll sleep in beds, that's all." The shaking gets worse. Bianca grips the edge of the cot. "You'll get 3 meals a day," Captain Wolford continues. "Access to the infirmary. Recreation time. Male privileges once you're processed. There's a chapel if you want it. Catholic priest comes on Sundays." Every word is a stone dropping into water. Meals, beds, chapel, priest. Why? The question comes out like an accusation. Captain Wolford looks at her for a long moment. "Because you're human beings," she says simply. "That doesn't stop being true just because there's a war. Human beings. Esseri umani." Bianca closes her eyes. Behind her eyelids, she sees the Bologna train station where she enlisted. The recruiting officer who promised her adventure. The propaganda films showing American devils. Her mother crying at the door. All of it. Every single piece. Built on something that just shattered with one cold bottle of soda. When she opens her eyes again, Captain Wolford is gone. Sophia is asleep on the next cot, tear tracks drying on her cheeks. Through the window, the Arizona sun is starting to set, painting the desert in colors Bianca doesn't have names for. Her Dr. Pepper bottle is on the floor where she dropped it. A small puddle of brown liquid is seeping into the dirt, already attracting ants. She watches them swarm the sweetness and thinks, tomorrow. Tomorrow she'll have to figure out what it means to be alive in a place that was supposed to kill her. Tonight, she just breathes. The mess hall doors swing open, and the smell hits them like a fist. Bianca stops mid-step. Behind her, Sophia gasps. Ahead, 20 American GIs sit at long tables, laughing, their metal trays loaded with something that makes Bianca's stomach twist with confused hunger. The air is thick with it. Sizzling fat, charred meat, salt, real salt. She hasn't smelled beef cooking in 3 years. "Che cos'è?" Sophia whispers. "I don't know." The American mess sergeant waves them forward. He's built like a grain barrel and has kind eyes. "Come on, ladies, don't be shy." The Italian women shuffle into line. Bianca watches an American soldier ahead of her receive his tray. A round thing on a soft white bun, dripping orange cheese. A mountain of crispy yellow sticks. a tall glass filled with pink foam. When it's her turn, the mess sergeant places the same thing on her tray. The burger is still steaming. Bianca carries it to a table like it might explode. 22 other women sit in stunned silence, staring at their trays. The Americans keep eating, talking, laughing, like this isn't a miracle, like they do this every single day. Sergeant Valentina Caruso sits 3 seats down. The black shirt pin she wore in the infirmary is gone from her collar, but her jaw is still set in that familiar rigid line. She stares at the hamburger like it personally insulted her. "It's meat," Lorenza says from across the table, her Calabrian accent thick with suspicion. "But what animal?" "Beef," an American corporal calls over. "Try it. You'll like it." Valentina picks up the burger with both hands. She brings it to her mouth slowly, ceremonially, takes one bite. Her jaw works once, twice, then stops. A single tear streaks down through the dirt on her left cheek, then another. Then Valentina Caruso, youth officer, true believer, the woman who screamed "Viva il Duce" at her own trial, begins to cry. Not quiet tears, deep, gulping sobs that shake her shoulders and make her whole body convulse. An MP pushes back from his table, thinking she's choking. Valentina holds up one hand, shaking her head. She takes another enormous bite of the hamburger, still crying, grease running down her chin. She chews while tears pour down her face. "Hanno questo?" she sobs in Italian. "They have this?" The mess hall goes quiet. Forks stop moving. "We were eating boiled grass," Valentina shouts through her tears. "Boiled grass!" She takes another bite, crying harder now. She can't stop eating and can't stop crying and can't seem to do either without the other. Bianca looks down at her own hamburger. She picks it up. The bun is soft, actual wheat bread, not sawdust mixed with chestnuts. She bites down. The flavor explodes across her tongue. Salt, fat, the char of the meat, the sweetness of the bun, the sharp tang of the melted cheese. It's so rich she almost gags, but she keeps chewing, keeps swallowing, and then she's taking another bite because her body is screaming for the calories it's been denied for years. She looks up. Half the Italian women are crying now while they eat. Sophia stuffs 3 French fries in her mouth at once, tears streaming. Lorenza drinks the entire pink milkshake in 4 massive gulps, then puts her head down on the table and weeps. Even the quiet ones from Venice are crying into their hamburgers, their thin shoulders shaking. The American soldiers watch in confused silence. The mess sergeant stands frozen with a spatula in his hand. Near the door, a newsreel cameraman who was filming the model POW camp raises his camera. The lens focuses on Valentina as she finishes her first burger and immediately reaches for someone else's abandoned one. She's crying so hard, she's hiccuping. Grease glistens on her chin and hands. An American lieutenant leans toward the cameraman. "You getting this?" "Every second of it, sir." Bianca finishes her hamburger and starts on the fries. Each one is crispy and salted and perfect. She remembers the soup they served in the transit camp before capture, water, mostly, with floating bits of turnip and sometimes a dead fly. She remembers her mother's kitchen in Bologna during rationing, the desperate mathematics of stretching 1 cup of flour across 5 days. She picks up the strawberry milkshake. The cold glass sweats in her hand. She takes a sip, and the sweetness makes her teeth ache. Ice cream. Actual ice cream mixed with fresh strawberries served like it's nothing, like it's normal. She drinks half of it before she has to stop, her stomach cramping with the richness. "This is what they eat," Sophia whispers beside her. Her face is wet. "This is what they throw away." Across the table, Valentina has stopped crying. She sits very still, staring at her empty tray. Her face is blank. Then slowly, deliberately, she reaches up and unpins something from inside her shirt collar, a small enamel badge with the fascist symbol. She looks at it for a long moment. Then she drops it into her empty milkshake glass. The pink residue coats the black enamel. Valentina stands up without a word and walks out of the mess hall. Nobody stops her. Bianca looks around the hall. The Americans have gone back to eating, talking, living their lives. This meal that shattered 23 Italian women is just Thursday dinner to them. Tomorrow, they'll have the same thing and won't even think about it. The newsreel cameraman is changing his film reel, whistling softly. Bianca picks up Valentina's abandoned milkshake glass. The fascist pin sits at the bottom, drowning in artificial strawberry sweetness. She carries it to the trash bin and tips it in. The pin disappears under potato peelings and napkins. When she turns around, half the Italian women are watching her. Sophia nods slowly. Lorenza wipes her eyes with her sleeve. One by one, they all go back to eating. Outside the mess hall windows, the Arizona sunset burns orange and gold across the desert. Bianca's stomach is full for the first time in 3 years. She doesn't know whether to laugh or scream. The catalog landed on Lorenza's bunk with a thud that echoed through the barracks. Red Cross volunteer. Cheerful smile. Something to browse while you rest, ladies. Private Lorenza Amato stared at the thick book like it might explode. Sears, Roebuck & Company splashed across the cover in gold letters. She'd seen propaganda before, pictures of fat Americans surrounded by impossible wealth, designed to make soldiers jealous and angry. More lies, she muttered in Italian, flipping it open just to prove herself right. The paper felt different. Heavy, glossy. Her calloused farm worker fingers, still rough from Calabrian soil and wartime labor, caught on the smooth pages. Page 1, living room furniture. Page 7, kitchen appliances. Page 23, women's shoes. 12 pages of just shoes. Lorenza's hands stopped turning pages. She stared at a brown leather pump with a modest heel. $3.95. Her father worked 14-hour days in the fields. 14 hours. She did the math in her head, the same math she'd done since childhood, calculating every lira, every meal, every impossible dream. That shoe cost more than he made in a week. She kept flipping. Faster now. Angrier. Dresses filled 7 consecutive pages. Cotton dresses, wool dresses, something called leisure wear that made no sense because who had leisure? Sweaters in colors she'd never seen in a store. A winter coat with an actual fur collar for $8.95. $8.95. 5 years. Her father would need to work 5 years to afford that coat. Lorenza threw the catalog across the barracks. It hit the wall and tumbled to the floor, pages splayed. Propaganda, she spat the word. Impossible. Fake pictures. Lies. Sophia looked up from her bunk. What's wrong? This. Lorenza pointed at the catalog like it was a weapon. They think we're stupid. They think we'll believe American secretaries can afford 12 pages of shoes. But Sophia had already retrieved the catalog. She sat on her bunk, turning pages slowly, her fingers trembling. 3 days later, Captain Wolford appeared during breakfast with a clipboard and a smile that made Lorenza's stomach clench. Ladies, the catalog isn't just for looking. You can order. Real items. The Red Cross covers basic necessities, but if you want to purchase extras, you'll earn small wages from your greenhouse work. Lorenza laughed. Actually laughed. Order? From pictures? Yes, fill out this form and it arrives in 4 to 6 weeks. The captain laid out sample order forms. Some items were subsidized. Undergarments, basic toiletries. Others could be purchased with the few dollars a month they earned tending vegetables. Lorenza watched Bianca lean over a form, carefully writing in her practiced hand. Watched her mark a check mark next to brasiers, white cotton, 2 count. Most of them were using torn rags as undergarments. The barracks grew quiet except for pencils scratching paper. Lorenza grabbed a form. Her hands shook as she flipped back to page 43. The yellow sundress, bright as sunshine, with white buttons down the front and a sweetheart neckline. 4.50 cents. She'd worked for 3 weeks. She had $6.35 in her account. Her pencil hovered over the order form. In Calabria, her mother owned 2 dresses, one for daily wear, one for church. Both were the color of dirt because anything else showed stains too easily. This yellow dress would be ruined in a day on the farm. Impractical, wasteful, impossible. Lorenza wrote down the item number, her handwriting aggressive and sharp. 6 weeks felt like 6 years. She stopped asking about mail delivery, stopped watching the supply truck. When other packages arrived, Sophia's brassieres, Valentina's cold cream, Bianca's actual winter stockings, Lorenza pretended not to care. Probably lost, she told herself. Probably never existed in the first place. Then a corporal appeared in the greenhouse where Lorenza was pruning tomato plants. Package for Amato. The box was small, brown paper, her name written in typed letters. Lorenza carried it to the latrine, the only private space in camp. Her fingers fumbled with the string. The paper tore. Inside, wrapped in tissue paper so thin it felt like wealth itself, was yellow fabric. She pulled out the dress. It looked exactly like the picture. Exactly. The buttons were white, smooth, perfectly round. The fabric was soft cotton that didn't scratch. The yellow was the color of lemons, of sunshine, of things that didn't exist in wartime. Lorenza stripped off her work clothes. Her hands shook so badly she could barely work the buttons. The dress slid over her head, settled on her shoulders, fell to just below her knees. She turned to the small, cracked mirror above the sink. The woman staring back wore yellow, bright, impossible, beautiful yellow. Lorenza's reflection began to cry. Not sad tears, angry tears, furious tears that burned her throat and made her want to scream. All those years, all those lies. Mussolini said Americans were weak, decadent, wasteful. Said their abundance made them soft. Said Italy's poverty built character, strength, superiority. And here was a $4.50 dress that fit perfectly, looked exactly like its picture, and could be ordered by a prisoner of war while her father broke his back for less money than this catalog charged for a pair of shoes. Lorenza pressed her forehead against the cool mirror and sobbed. That Sunday, she walked into the camp chapel wearing the yellow dress. Every head turned. The other Italian women still wore their military uniforms or the drab work clothes issued by the camp. American soldiers wore their service uniforms. The chaplain wore black. Lorenza wore sunshine. She took her usual seat next to Sophia, who stared openly. Valentina, 3 rows back, made a small sound in her throat. The service happened around her. Lorenza couldn't focus on prayers. She kept looking down at the yellow fabric, at the white buttons, at the proof of everything she'd lost believing in lies. After Mass, Sophia touched the fabric gently. "It's beautiful." "It's real," Lorenza whispered. "That's what makes me angry. It's all real." By Monday morning, 3 order forms appeared on Captain Wolford's desk. 3 different women. Same dress, same page, same yellow. The catalogs kept coming. Thicker editions, spring collections, summer wear. Lorenza stopped throwing them against walls. She studied them like enemy intelligence, marking pages, calculating prices, comparing her entire childhood economy against a single department store's inventory. One catalog advertised a washing machine for $89.95. Her mother washed clothes in a river, had washed clothes in a river her entire life. Her grandmother had washed clothes in that same river. For $90, an American housewife could buy a machine to do it instead. Lorenza found Captain Wolford in the admin building. "The prices, in the catalog. They're real? Americans really pay these amounts?" "Yes." The captain looked up from her paperwork. "Why?" "A washing machine is $90. "That sounds about right. Maybe cheaper if you find a sale." Lorenza gripped the catalog so hard the pages crumpled. "My mother uses a rock and a river. Her mother used the same rock. Probably her mother's mother." Captain Wolford's expression shifted, softened. "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry." The words came out sharp. "Be—" Lorenza didn't have the English word. She switched to Italian, then back. "How do you live like this and think other people are human? How do you have washing machines and 12 pages of shoes and think we are the same? The captain stood, walked around the desk. We don't. Not really. Most Americans have no idea how the rest of the world lives. They should. Lorenza's voice cracked. They should know what they have, what we don't, what we never had. She left before the captain could respond, the catalog still clutched in her hands. That night, Lorenza sat on her bunk and wrote a letter home. She described the catalog in careful detail. The shoes, the dresses, the washing machines. She included prices, converted to lire, calculated against her father's wages. She sealed the letter, addressed it, and handed it to the mail officer. Her family would think she'd lost her mind, or that American propaganda had broken her. But every word was true. That was the part that hurt most. The yellow dress hung in her footlocker. She wore it every Sunday. By the 4th week, Sophia appeared in the same dress. Then Bianca. Then a woman named Claudia who never spoke much but who smiled when she buttoned the white buttons. 4 women in identical yellow dresses sitting in chapel pews, looking like they'd stolen sunshine from the Arizona sky. Valentina, still wearing her faded military shirt, stared at them with an expression Lorenza couldn't read. After the service, Valentina approached. The dress, it's really from the catalog? Really $4.50? Yes. And it came, like the picture. Exactly like the picture. Valentina touched the fabric just for a second. Her face did something complicated. I want to order something, but I don't know how to decide. Lorenza handed her the catalog. Pick something impossible. That's what I did. 2 weeks later, Valentina walked out of the supply office carrying a hat box. Inside was a navy blue hat with a small veil. $2.95. She wore it to Mass, paired with her military uniform, looking like 2 different people fighting for control of the same body. The catalog became a weapon nobody had expected. Not bullets or bombs, but glossy pages of abundance that rewrote everything they'd been taught about enemies, allies, superiority, and lies. Lorenza kept ordering. A cardigan, lipstick, a small bottle of perfume that cost less than a loaf of bread but smelled like flowers. Eddie was late. Bianca stood in the greenhouse doorway, a crate of tomatoes heavy in her arms, watching the dirt road shimmer in the heat. Thursday. Always Thursday at 2 o'clock, and Eddie was never late, she set. The crate down harder than she meant to. A tomato rolled out, splitting on the concrete. Red pulp spread across gray stone like blood. She stared at it, her chest suddenly tight. What if they'd found out? What if someone had seen them last week when his hand had lingered on hers while reaching for the delivery sheet? 5 seconds, maybe 6. Long enough for everything to change. The sound of boots on gravel made her spin around. Eddie walked toward her carrying something wrapped in a white cloth. Not his usual clipboard, not his work face either. He was grinning like a kid with a secret. "You're late," Bianca said in English, the words still clumsy in her mouth. "Worth it." He pulled back the cloth. 2 wooden sticks, each holding something impossible. Frozen cream, orange and white swirled together, already starting to melt in the Arizona sun. Bianca had seen ice before. Bologna had ice in winter. But frozen cream? Cream turned into something you could hold, eat with your hands like bread? "Creamsicle," Eddie said, holding one out to her. "From the commissary. Had to trade my lunch for them." She took it carefully, like it might break. The cold bit into her palm. Little droplets were already forming on the surface, racing down toward her fingers. "Lick it," Eddie demonstrated with his own, "before it melts." Bianca touched her tongue to the orange ice, the shock of cold, then sweetness, sharp citrus mixed with something soft and vanilla that she'd never tasted together before. Her eyes went wide. She licked again, faster, then bit into it. The texture was wrong and perfect at the same time, dissolving on her tongue into flavors that made her dizzy. She ate faster, chasing the melting edges, trying to taste everything before it disappeared. Pain shot through her forehead, sharp and sudden like someone had driven a nail between her eyes. She gasped, pressing her free hand to her temple. Eddie laughed. Actually, laughed. Brain freeze. Means you're eating it right. My head, Bianca managed, still clutching the creamsicle. It'll pass. 30 seconds. Keep eating. The pain faded as quickly as it came. Bianca finished the creamsicle in silence, not wanting to waste a single drop of the vanilla cream melting down the stick. When she finally handed the empty stick back, her fingers were orange and sticky. "We have nothing like this," she whispered. The words came out in Italian first, then she forced them into English. "In Italy. Before war. After war. Nothing." Eddie's smile faded. He looked at his own empty stick, then at her. "My mom used to make mochi ice cream. Red bean paste, sweet rice. She'd freeze it in the icebox." His voice went quiet. "That was before Manzanar, before they took our icebox." Bianca didn't know what mochi was, but she understood the weight in his words. The before, the taking. "Your family," she started. "Still there, behind barbed wire, like you were." He looked at the tomato plants behind. Her, heavy with fruit that would go to feed American soldiers. "Difference is, they're American citizens. You got treated better than them." Bianca had no answer for that. She'd seen the newspapers that some of the guards left in the rec room. Pictures of Japanese Americans being loaded onto trains. Whole families. Children. Eddie pulled a handkerchief from his pocket and handed it to her. "Your fingers." She wiped the orange stickiness off, the cloth coming away bright with color. When she tried to hand it back, he shook his head. "Keep it." Their fingers touched as she took the handkerchief. His hand didn't pull away. Neither did hers. They stood like that for 3 seconds. 5, 10. His palm warm against hers, both their hands sticky with melted creamsicle. "Next Thursday?" Eddie asked. "Next Thursday." He squeezed her hand once before letting go. Then he picked up the crate of tomatoes like nothing had happened, like they hadn't just broken 5 different camp regulations, like his family wasn't in a prison camp while he fell for an enemy soldier. Bianca watched him walk back down the dirt road, the white cloth tucked into his back pocket. Her hand still felt warm where he'd held it. She went back into the greenhouse. The humid air wrapped around her like a blanket, thick with the smell of growing things. Sophia was weeding between the pepper plants, her yellow sundress already soaked with sweat. "You were gone a long time," Sophia said without looking up. "The delivery took longer." "I'm sure it did." Sophia sat back on her heels, dirt on her knees. She was smiling. "Your lips are orange." Bianca's hand flew to her mouth. She could still taste the creamsicle, citrus and vanilla and impossible sweetness. "He gave you something," Sophia said. Not a question. "Frozen cream. On a stick." "Madonna." Sophia stood up, brushing dirt off her dress. "What did it taste like?" Bianca tried to find the words in Italian, then in English, but neither language had what she needed. "How do you describe something that doesn't exist in your world? Something so abundant, so casual, that a man could trade his lunch for 2 of them just to make a girl smile." "Like America," she finally said. Sophia laughed, the sound echoing off the greenhouse glass. "Everything here tastes like America. The hamburgers, the Coca-Cola, the chocolate. Even the air tastes different. Fatter, sweeter." She wasn't wrong. Back home, air smelled like exhaust and cabbage soup and fear. Here, it smelled like grease and coffee and endless food. "Lorenza got another package yesterday," Sophia continued, going back to her weeding. "A cardigan. Powder blue. She wore it to breakfast like she was going to the opera. She ordered perfume too. I saw it in the catalog. We're all doing it now. Valentina got a hat with a veil. Can you imagine? Sergeant Caruso, the black shirt, wearing a hat from Sears like she's going to tea in Chicago." Bianca knelt down next to her friend, pulling weeds from around a tomato plant heavy with green fruit. "Do you think about going back?" Sophia's hand stopped moving. "To Italy?" "When the war ends, they'll send us home." "Home to what?" Sophia's voice was flat. "Bombed cities? No food? The same poverty we left?" She pulled a weed so hard the roots came up with a clump of dirt. I wore shoes with cardboard soles for 3 years, Bianca. Cardboard. Here I have real leather. 2 pairs. Your family can come here. I'll send for them. Work in a factory, save money. Sophia looked at her directly. You think I'm going back to sleeping 4 to a bed and eating polenta 6 days a week? After hamburgers? After milkshakes? After seeing what normal people have in this country? Normal people. As if Americans were just regular humans who happen to have frozen cream on sticks. Eddie's family is in a prison camp, Bianca said quietly. I know. But he still gave me a creamsicle. Sophia smiled, sad and knowing. That's why you like him. Bianca didn't deny it. What was the point? Sophia had eyes. They worked in silence for a while, the greenhouse warm and close around them. Outside, someone was playing American music on a radio, big band jazz, all trumpets and drums. The sound drifted through the open vents. Next Thursday, Sophia said eventually. When you see him again, ask him what flavor they have besides orange. Bianca looked at her friend. Sophia was grinning. There are other flavors? This is America, Bianca. There are always other flavors. Thursday came again, and again, and again. Each time, Eddie brought 2 creamsicles, chocolate ones that made Bianca's tongue dark, grape ones that tasted like purple, lime ones so sour they made her face scrunch up while Eddie laughed. Each time, their fingers held a little longer when they exchanged the empty sticks. By the 8th Thursday, they weren't bothering with the delivery paperwork anymore. Bianca would finish her greenhouse shift, and Eddie would be waiting by the back fence with whatever flavor the commissary had that week. By the 10th Thursday, they were sitting together in the shade of the tool shed, shoulders touching, while they ate their creamsicles and talked in a mix of broken English and hand gestures about everything and nothing. By the 12th Thursday, Eddie brought only 1 creamsicle, cherry vanilla. We're sharing this one, he said. Bianca took a bite. When she handed it back, Eddie bit from the exact same spot, his lips touching where hers had been. They finished it like that, passing it back and forth, not speaking. When it was gone, Eddie took both their sticky hands in his and just held them. My family might get out next year, he said, when the war ends. If it ends. It will end. And they'll send you back to Italy. Bianca looked at their joined hands. His were darker than hers, scarred from farm work. Hers were still soft, despite months in the greenhouse. I don't want to go back, she said. Eddie's grip tightened. Then don't. It wasn't that simple. Nothing was ever that simple, but sitting there in the Arizona heat, tasting cherry vanilla on her tongue and feeling Eddie's pulse in his wrist, Bianca let herself believe it could be. The chapel on Christmas Eve is too hot. Bodies packed shoulder to shoulder, candle wax dripping into glass holders, pine branches zip-tied to the altar rail. American soldiers sit on one side, Italian POWs on the other, civilian staff scattered between like nervous referees. Bianca sits in the 3rd row, Eddie 3 rows behind her in the civilian section. They haven't spoken in 4 days. Too many eyes watching the greenhouse. Her hand aches where his thumb traced circles last Thursday. Father Dominic, an army chaplain from Boston, delivers a sermon about peace and goodwill. His Italian is terrible. Half the women don't understand him. They stand when everyone stands, sit when everyone sits, mouths moving silently. Then he opens the floor for testimony. 2 soldiers share stories. A nurse talks about missing her sister. The chapel settles into polite, drowsy warmth. Valentina Caruso stands up. The scrape of wood on concrete. 23 heads turn. The former black-shirt sergeant hasn't spoken in group settings since the hamburger incident 3 months ago. She walks to the front in her navy hat with the veil, the one from the Sears catalog, worn over her faded uniform. She grips the lectern. Her knuckles go white. I was fascist, she says in English. The words are careful, practiced. Real fascist. I believe America is weak, fat, coward. A Texas MP shifts in his seat. The chapel goes absolutely silent. I believe you torture us. Kill us. This is what Mussolini say. This is what officers say. Her voice cracks. I believe this. 2 years. Bianca's chest tightens. Beside her, Sophia's rosary beads stop moving. You give me hamburger. Valentina's hands shake against the wood. You give me coat. You give medicine when I am sick. You give catalog. You let me go to Mass. She looks up. Tears stream down her face, catching the candlelight. You treat me like... She doesn't know the word. Switches to Italian. Umana. Human. Her voice breaks completely. Mussolini, say you're devil, but you are... She can't finish. Just stands there crying, shoulders heaving. The silence stretches for 5 seconds. 10. Then someone in the back row starts clapping. A slow, deliberate rhythm. 1 person. Then another joins. Then 5. Then half the chapel is applauding while Valentina covers her face with both hands, sobbing into her palms. Lorenza is crying. Sophia is crying. An American nurse in the second row wipes her eyes with her sleeve. Bianca turns slightly. Eddie's face is wet. He mouths something she can't read. Father Dominic doesn't know what to do. He walks over, puts a hand on Valentina's shoulder. She folds into him like a child, still crying. The applause fades. People sit. Someone starts singing Silent Night in German, then Italian, then English, all 3 languages tangling together in the candlelit dark. Bianca's hands tremble in her lap. May 1945. The war in Europe ends on a Tuesday. The announcement crackles through the camp loudspeakers at 0600 hours. Women pour out of the barracks in nightgowns and bare feet, screaming, crying, holding each other. The war is over. Italy surrendered 2 years ago. Germany just fell. They're going home. Captain Wolford posts repatriation schedules on the bulletin board outside the mess hall. Ships leaving from New York in June, processing in Rome, return to families. Bianca stares at the paper. Her name is on the list. Rossetti, Bianca. June 14th, departure. Eddie finds her by the greenhouse that afternoon. He doesn't bring creamsicles, just stands there with his hands in his pockets. You leaving? He asks. Bianca pulls a tomato off the vine, still green, not ready. I don't know. That night, Sophia spreads Sears catalogs across her bunk like maps of foreign countries. She's wearing the yellow sundress, a cardigan, leather shoes that still smell new. I'm staying, she says. Not to Bianca, to the room. Lorenza looks up from painting her nails. Me too. Claudia nods. My cousin in Philadelphia says she can get me work. 1 by 1, 18 of the 23 women decide. They fill out paperwork. They write letters to families explaining they're not coming back. Some letters are apologetic, some aren't. Valentina writes to her parents in Genoa. I'm staying in America. Don't ask me to explain. There's nothing left for me there. Everything I believed was a lie. She mails it without reading it twice. June 1946. Phoenix, Arizona. Bianca Rossetti stands in the courthouse in a cream-colored dress from Sears, page 72. Eddie Takahashi wears a borrowed suit 2 sizes too big. His family was released from Manzanar 6 months ago. They're in the second row, his mother crying into a handkerchief. The justice of the peace asks if she takes this man. Bianca says yes in English. Then again in Italian, just to be sure. Eddie's hands shake when he slides on the ring. Cheap gold, but it fits. Outside, Sophia throws rice. Lorenza takes photographs with a Kodak Brownie camera she bought with her department store wages. Valentina, now working at a Phoenix diner, brought a wedding cake she baked herself. White frosting, 3 layers, strawberry filling. They eat cake on the courthouse steps in the June heat. American cars drive past. Someone's radio plays Bing Crosby. Bianca takes a bite of cake. Too sweet. Perfect. She laughs until she cries. September 1946. U.S. Army Intelligence Office, Florence. Major Douglas Peterson sits across from Lorenza Amato, now 24, wearing cat-eye glasses and victory red lipstick. She works at Goldwater's department store downtown, makes more in a month than her father, made in a year. "We're trying to understand," the major says, tapping his pen against a notepad, "why so many of you refused repatriation." Lorenza lights a lucky strike. American tobacco. Smooth. "You want to know why?" "Yes, ma'am." She leans back, exhales smoke toward the ceiling. "Go back to Italy. Eat what we ate. Boiled grass, watery soup, bread with sawdust." She taps ash into a tray. "Then come here. Have a hamburger. Have a milkshake. Buy a dress for $5. The major writes something down. "You didn't defeat us with guns, Major." She gestures at everything. Her cigarette, her outfit, the Coca-Cola bottle sweating on his desk. "You defeated us with this." "With what?" "Abundance." She says it in English, then Italian. "Abbondanza. We had no word for it before. We thought the whole world was starving. We thought everyone was cold and hungry and fighting for scraps." She takes a long drag. "Then you gave us Dr. Pepper, and hamburgers, and Sears catalogs, and we realized—" Her voice cracks slightly. "We realized we'd been lied to about everything." The major stops writing, looks up. "You gave us creamsicles," Lorenza says quietly. "You gave us strawberry milkshakes. You gave us yellow dresses and leather shoes and washing machines. You gave us proof that the world doesn't have to be what Mussolini said it was." She stubs out the cigarette. "So, no, I'm not going back. None of us are. Because you can't untaste a hamburger, Major. You can't unsee a Sears catalog. You can't forget what it feels like to be full." The major closes his notepad. Lorenza stands, smooths her skirt, picks up her purse. "Is that enough for your report?" He nods. She walks out into the Arizona sunshine, where Sophia is waiting in a Chevrolet they bought together, split down the middle. Valentina is in the back seat wearing sunglasses. They drive to Bianca and Eddie's apartment for dinner. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, string beans, ice cream for dessert. 5 former enemies sitting around a table, speaking broken English and laughter, making plans for the future. Valentina raises a glass of Coca-Cola. "To hamburgers," she says. They all drink. Outside, the desert sky turns purple and gold. Somewhere, a radio plays jazz. Somewhere, Lorenza's letter reaches Calabria, and her mother reads about a daughter who found a world she didn't know existed. A world that tasted like orange creamsicles and abundance. A world that offered second chances to girls who used to stand against walls waiting to die.